Welcome to Search for Signs. My name is Gary Willing. If this information interests you, please press the like and subscribe button and press the bell for notifications. Now, ever since January of 2010, so nearly a decade, Maitreya has been giving interviews in not only the United States, but in other countries around the world. Russia, Japan, Brazil, Mexico, those kind of things, China, I think. And up until the point of Benjamin Creme's passing in October of 2016, it was listed every month in Share International magazine. And for the most part, it was maybe 3 or 4 times a month, maybe 5 times a month, I guess. Sometimes fewer, maybe 1 or 2 or something like that. But for the most part, it was pretty consistent. Every month he was giving interviews. Now, I'm of the opinion that just because Benjamin Creme passed away in 2016 and that list hasn't been published in Share International every month, doesn't mean that Maitreya's not giving interviews now and maybe have stopped or something like that. I think he's still giving interviews in and around the world. I only know of one person who talked to somebody that claims that person that was talking to my friend claimed that she had seen a man on TV that did not look like Maitreya, did not speak the way that Benjamin Creme speaks, or the way that we would think Maitreya would be speaking. But she was convinced that she saw him on TV. Said he looks totally different, speaking in a totally different way. But she knew because of the wisdom of his words and the power and the love behind what he was saying that this guy, there's something special about this guy, and it might actually be Maitreya. She was actually convinced it was Maitreya. Now, that being said, people haven't recognized him, of course, on TV as being Maitreya. But that doesn't mean that Maitreya is not well known already on TV. He might actually be already known for who he is. People might already be talking about what this person is saying, but not knowing who he actually is because he's not speaking in that way. Heck, you could have seen him, or I could have seen him, and not really realized it. Now, I think that way he's doing it is doing it to help wake humanity up, but he's also doing it because it's not really important that he's Maitreya. It's more important about what he's saying and the needed, the advice that we need to start taking. I also think he's been speaking this way and as quietly as he has for the last 10 years because humanity's progress has been slow in terms of accepting and applying what he's teaching. So there's only so much he can teach you. He can't teach step 3 if we're still on step 1, so to speak, right? So as humanity starts to wake up, which I think humanity over the last 10 years has been starting to wake up, and you can see it with the environmental marches that have been going around the world on a more consistent basis and more awareness about, let's say, climate change, for instance, right? That people are starting to wake up to the problems of the planet and the fact that we do need to help solve this planet together, or we are going to perish. It's becoming crucial, and it's becoming urgent, more and more urgent, and the urgency is there, right? Now, I don't think that Maitreya is going to be speaking in a very, gentle and quiet way, so to speak, for much longer. And to quote Benjamin Creme's master, his head will start to appear above the horizon. And people will start to recognize him for who he is more and more. And as that happens, of course, those who hear his words will find themselves in one of 3 groups, according to Benjamin Creme's master. The first that we'll talk about will be those people who will start to see the logic of what he's saying and the practicality of what he's saying, the need for peace, the need to help, save our environment, but yet maybe don't know how to do it. Or maybe they've been trying all along for years and just, not getting anywhere. But Maitreya will start to galvanize those people for change. And that that group of people that will want change, his energy is going to make their voice razor sharp so that the leaders of the world will start to listen to the people. The masters have always said that the people are always ahead of the governments. The governments are always 1 or 2 steps behind in terms of change. So don't look to them to initiate any changes. We have to do it ourselves. But he will be strengthening their voice. Now, I also think that the United States is not going to be one of the first nations to change and to make the needed changes. It's going to be the other countries around the world that do it first. But he will start to speak to the people, and it will start to awaken people up to the fact that we do need to change, socially or whatever. Now, as that starts to happen, of course, there are going to be those people who naturally, because of their own ideology, will start to call him Antichrist and son of perdition, and oh, he's the one that's here to going to fool all the nations and so forth. And they'll use their own scriptures and misinterpret their own scriptures of what they view as the end times to try to use it against what Maitreya has been saying all along. And of course, they won't trust anything that he says, and they'll be against everything that he says. Because even though what he'll be saying will be right in line with what Jesus said 2,000 years ago, feed my sheep, but yet Maitreya says, share the world's resources so that all, end hunger in the world and so forth, right? Which is the same thing that Jesus talked, but just not on a global scale. But they'll still call him the Antichrist. Oh, he's here to fool us. He's here to promise us peace, but yet he's going to turn on us and so forth, which Maitreya is not going to create peace. We have to create peace in the world. So it's not anything that he's going to fool. So, but also, because of that two very powerful groups, those against him and those for what the changes, the middle group of people will be uncertain about how to make of it. And of course, will sit on their hands and kind of have a wait and see attitude. But as time goes on, more and more people in that middle group will start to, okay, well, yeah, we should have more, we should do this. We should, and they'll find themselves working in some area to help make the needed changes and so forth. But according to Benjamin Creme's master, it doesn't have to be everybody on the planet, just a certain percentage, which Maitreya said he's going to call on 1 billion people, but there's I think that the last count, it was more like 2 billion people are going to be actively working toward the restoration and the saving of our planet. Now, I wanted to read one of the articles that Benjamin Creme's master wrote back in September of 2003. I think it's pertinent to what is coming up in this next year, 2020. I think this next decade is going to be an incredible decade with sweeping changes all throughout all walks, all areas of life. And I think 2020 is going to be the year that kicks it off. But I think the main thing that we're going to see is more and more people realizing that there's a sense of urgency that we have to do something, and not only about our environment, but about the need for peace in the next year. So I hope I'm right. But anyway, this article is entitled "The Brightest Future," and it's found on page 437 of A Master Speaks, and it was published in Share International in September of 2003. From where, one may ask, is the vision to come which will inspire men to relinquish the ways of the past, war, competition, and destruction of the planet, and so lead to the creation of a path to sharing, justice, and peace? For how long must men wait for a sign that this is even feasible? Where should men look for a glimmer, even of hope? Without doubt, there is much happening in the world to strain the credence of all but the most convinced that this much to be desired event is not only possible, but assured. From what basis can such a statement be made? From what superior knowledge does it issue? How, in this uncertain world, can such confidence be maintained? The answers to these legitimate questions lie in the fact known to all hierarchy, but not yet to all men, that their head and leader, Maitreya himself, is for many years now present in the everyday world, that many of their illustrious brothers likewise walk once more with men. This fact alone is quite without precedent. It betokens something wonderful and new for men. For the first time in countless thousands of years, these, quote, men without fault, unquote, will teach men how to live, simply and well, in peace and right relationship. Thus, it may be said that the future for man is assured. Men, however, must accept and put in place the mechanism for peace, the recognition that all men are equal and one, each an expression of the divinity which permeates all being. When this is clearly understood, men will have little difficulty in creating the path to peace. The divine aspects of justice and freedom will gain new meaning and importance, and hasten the day when sharing of resources assumes its natural, logical place as the answer to men's present dilemma and strife. Until now, all such ideas and demonstrations of spiritual living were made by men alone. Slow indeed has been the response to their heroic example. Nevertheless, circumstances are now exerting on men unusual and insupportable pressures. Men must adapt and change or perish. As they search for answers to their problems, they will find Maitreya and his group ready to respond, ready to guide men away from danger and further folly. They have the answers which thus far have eluded men, the answers which alone will assure the future, the brightest possible future for the race of men. Remember to take action and help SOP save our planet. Thanks for listening, and we look forward to talking to you again in future videos.